Hi, welcome to the stream for day 21 of Advent of Code. I hope today will go better than yesterday. Unlike the other days, I did actually have a quick look at the problem beforehand because I wanted to see whether it just seems intractable before starting. Yeah, and as always, I will use Go. And as always, the goal is to first get the stars and then see where we go from there. Let's hope for once I actually get both stars on time. So yeah, let's just start. You reach the train's last stop and the closest you can get to your vacation island without getting wet. There aren't even any boats here, but nothing can stop you now. You build a raft. You just need a few days worth of food for your journey. You don't speak the local language, so you can't read any ingredients lists. However, sometimes allergens are listed in a language you do understand. You should be able to use this information to determine which ingredient contains which allergen and work out which foods are safe to take with you on your trip. You start by compiling a list of foods, your puzzle input, one food per line. So this is a food. Each line includes that food's ingredients a list followed by some or all of the allergens of the food contains. So these are the ingredients lists. Each allergen is found in exactly one ingredient. So for example, in this case, dairy can only be in one of these and not in any of the others. Each ingredient contains 0 or 1 allergen. Allergens aren't always marked. When they are listed, as in contains nuts after an ingredients list, the ingredient that contains each listed allergen will be somewhere in the corresponding ingredients list. However, even if an allergen isn't listed, the ingredient that contains that allergen could still be present. Maybe they forgot to label it, or maybe it was labeled in a language we don't know. For example, consider the following list of foods. The first food on the list has 4 ingredients, written in a language we don't understand. While the food might contain other allergens, a few allergens the food definitely contains are listed afterwards, dairy and fish. The first step is to determine which ingredients can't possibly contain any of the allergens in any food in your list. In the above example, none of the ingredients Kyphsidis. So why can't Kyphsidis contain an allergen? It appears only in this food, and so does NHMS. Okay, so one of these has to have an allergen. Exactly one of these has an allergen. I'm not quite sure I understand how the logic works for like why this specifically can't have an allergen. Okay, let's just start with reading the input. We will start by having a struct for food, which will have ingredients and allergens, and then we say func read input, and this will return a list of foods or an error. I will also enable syntax highlighting, and we will, as always, we will go line-wise through the input. And the input, well, how do we split this? Well, we will just look for the opening brace, or like for opening brace contains, and everything before that will be ingredients, everything after that will be allergens. Strings.index, so L is s.text, contains. So And now ingredients will be L up to, so first, if I is less than 0, so if there is no, is there a food that does not contain any, oh, this is too hard to read. We will just handle the case just in case. Yeah, let's just say, let's just do this for now. The ingredients will be this, and they will be split by spaces, and we will also trim space before and after, and we will also, what we will also do is we will strip the space from each individual ingredient just in case. Trim space as yep. Okay, so this should be our ingredients handled. Now for the allergens, we actually, okay, so if I is len L, we just say foods equals append foods, a food with ingredients. I'm just seeing a typo. Ingredients being ingredients, and continue. Otherwise, we will have a list of allergens. So we will say strings.split, and now the allergens are comma space separated. So we will split L starting from I until len L minus 1, because we will have a closing parentheses at the end. We will take that. We will also just, for good measure, oh, we don't need it in this case. Yeah, and we will split on comma space to get the allergens, and we will do the same thing as before. Allergens I is strings dot trim space as just also trim spaces from all of that, and say foods equals append foods, a food with ingredients, allergens, and return foods s dot r. Okay, so, and now let's also check that we actually pass the input correctly. Read input os.stdin. And we will set log flags as we used previously. So this is just so that we can find errors more easily, like log lines more easily where they appeared if we do debug output. Log.l shortfile. And we will say for all foods fim.print %q and %q, we will just print allergens and ingredients comma separated. f.ingredients, f.allergens, and see what happens. Cannot use as value. Yes, I forgot the range, as I so often do. And we will use our test case to see if we do everything somewhat correctly. Yeah, the content is obviously wrong. So let's also add trim prefix contains and go build. Yeah, that looks fine. Cool. Okay, so now we have our foods. Now we actually have to figure out which ingredients are allergen free. Food and a slice of string and an arrow. Okay, so again, how does this work? I have no idea. Okay, let me look at the problem again. Each ingredient contains 0 or 1 allergen. Allergens aren't always marked. When they are listed, the ingredient that contains each listed allergen will be somewhere in the corresponding ingredients list. However, even if an allergen isn't listed, could still be present. I mean, technically speaking, can't possibly contain any of the allergens in any food in your list. This is okay. So dairy could be in all of these. Why can't dairy be in this? I mean, I think technically speaking, all of the ingredients could contain allergens because they don't have to be listed, right? So I'm not sure what the intention is. How are we supposed to solve this? So a set intersection problem. Yeah, but I mean, so the issue I'm having is I could look at like, okay, so dairy could be any of these, or dairy must be in one of these, and dairy must be in one of these, right? And then I can intersect the two lists, and I will find like elements. I think like this is fine so far, but like once I figured out that this may contain dairy, like it doesn't mean none of the other things can. Wait, does it? Each allergen is found in exactly one ingredient. Okay, so this actually means, okay, so by saying dairy must be in this, we can exclude dairy from being in any of these. So first we want to find out for each allergen what possible, or like what ingredients they can be in. And then we want to take, and so for fish we will figure out this, which is in both lists. Fish could be in this, theoretically speaking, a priori, or in this, but like, if we intersect these, we will find that fish could be in this or in this. Right. And so the intersection of fish is these two. But how? I'm not sure how to then, like, I mean, obviously we can then, okay, so from that we can conclude that because dairy can only be in this one, right? Dairy has to be in the intersection of these two, and it can, so dairy can only be in this one, so this must contain dairy. And so we can conclude that it doesn't contain fish, and thus we can conclude that this must contain fish. And then we can conclude that these two, KFCDS and NHMS, can't actually contain any allergen. Okay, so what we can do is we can first find for every allergen the intersection of ingredients that like the set of ingredients that may contain this allergen, and then we can look if one of them is like unique. And if it's unique, like in fish, in this case, we know that this ingredient has to contain fish, and then we can conclude that like we can remove it from all the candidate lists of all the other sets because every ingredient contains 0 or 1 allergen. Okay, so this seems doable. So let's first map each allergen to the list of candidates that it could be in. So we map strings to, wait, I will just say type string set, because we need to do like a lot of intersection and stuff, and like centralizing that in the types makes sense. So okay, so func s string set intersect s2 string set returns a string set for all elements that are in S, for E range S, if they are also in S2, no, add them to out, and then for all elements of, do we need that? It needs to be in both. No, we don't need that. Return out, because it needs to be in both, so it definitely needs to be in E, so we definitely have to have seen it by now. Right, okay. And now we want to say for all foods, candidates for all allergens, actually, because we probably don't care about the order, right? So let's make these string sets. Nope, it doesn't. I tend to use sets to bool because it has like some nice properties. But yeah, there is no string set. No any set, to be honest. It just has hash maps. Add E element E string as E equals true. Func as string set has E string bool return as E. So and so instead of doing var allergens string, instead of doing this, let's do this. And now let's say var f food, or f is defined as food, allergens, make a string set, and ingredients, make a string set for all allergens. f.allergens.add the allergen, and for all ingredients, Typo in return there. Yeah, I always typo return. I'm sure I will see what you mean in this. Yep. This is something that I always typo return. I don't know why, but this is just one of those things that, one of those typos that is just, it somehow made it into my muscle memory. F dot ingredients dot add I. Foods equals append foods F. Yeah, okay. So we can also make things a little bit simpler. Because now we can just say f.allergens dot add allergens. Also, I have an error. F point, which is now done. Ingredients dot add ingredients. Cool. This is still built. String sets. And I will also do something else. I will stringify this differently because this has bothered me in the past. Var elements return from strconf dot quote, and now return yeah, good enough. Go build missing return. Panic. Shortcut. Evaluated but not used. Intersect out E equals true. Candidates declared but not used. And A declared but not used. Okay, a bit less readable, but that's hopefully fine. Okay, same thing. So now, of course, the order is no longer well defined, but whatever. Good, so much for that. Now, where were we? Candidates of the allergen will be candidates of the allergen dot intersect with the ingredients of the food. Does it build? It doesn't. Yes, because this is now a map. Cool. So far so good. So now we have all the candidates of all the ingredients. Now what next? Next we want to try to find all the, let's also add a while we're at it, because we will need that in a second. Yep. Great. Let's actually just go this route. Out dot add E just for clarity's sake. Great. So now we want to find all allergens which have exactly one candidate, and then we actually know that that ingredient contains that allergen. So we will say, we will make a map from ingredients to the allergen they contain, once we know which they are. And now we will do this as an endless loop because we don't know how long it will take. Var found, and we will go through all the candidates, allergen and the candidate list, and say if the length of the candidate list is 1, we can say allergens of C0, so C0 is the only candidate, will be, so let's just say if this is greater than 0, then we will just continue, because this will be more code. This will be the allergen that we are looking at, and now we will remove the allergen from all the candidates. The ingredient. C dot remove C0. Right? Oh, oops. It's a set. Oh, C0 doesn't make sense. This is annoying. Let's write a helper that will, because like we don't know what the element is, so we can't just take the key. So we have to actually range over it and find all the things, and this is just annoying. So we write the function returns the single element of the set if it only has one, and a bool returns E true if S represents the set E. So cool. This will just make things a little bit like, this is just a helper. If for elements in S, return E len S equals 1, return empty string false. So this is very simple. This is just a helper that will give us the element and give us whether it's actually just one. Ingredient okay c dot singleton. Yeah. If not okay, continue. Otherwise, we remove it from all other candidate lists. For range candidates, c dot remove the ingredient. Then we also want to remove this allergen from our candidates list because we don't want to look at it again. Delete from the candidates the allergen key, and say found equals true and break, I don't know. Or just continue candidate loop, or allergen loop, I should call it, I think. We can also just do continue allergen loop. Okay, so now we don't need this anymore. Do we need this? Yes. If we reach this point, this means one of two things can happen. Either candidates is empty, so we will just say if for len candidates greater than 0. If we now reach this point, this means that none of the lists of candidates is a singleton. And that is unfortunate, because that means we can't really decide which of them, which allergen is in which ingredient. But we don't yet know if this condition will occur, but for now we will just return an error, and if we ever encounter the error we return here, we know that we must handle this case, like a case that there is just not a really unique mapping. Return nil errors dot new can't determine ingredients for allergens, whatever. Great. Right, so at this point, the list of candidates should be empty, theoretically, and allergens should contain for each ingredient what allergen it contains. So now we will just look for all ingredients that are not contained in any that don't appear in this map, right? Because that means they obviously can't contain an allergen. So let's just do that. Var out string set for all foods, for all ingredients, if it doesn't appear in allergens, add it to out. Out.add the ingredient, and then we will return out nil. So theoretically, this should give us a set of all foods that don't contain any allergens. Let's see if it does. Let's for now not use this anymore and say, how did I call it? Allergen free. Allergen free foods. Set and air. Okay, I have a typo somewhere apparently, otherwise, oh no, it formats correctly. Log.fatal r fm.println s fm.println len s. What do we want? In the above example, none of the ingredients 1, 2, 3, 4 can contain any. Counting the number of times any of these ingredients appear in any ingredients list produces 5. So we actually want to sum the, yeah, we will do that in a separate step once we know that what we do is actually correct. Can't determine ingredients for allergens. God damn it. So this actually means we do run into this problem. Let's just break for now. Let's let's print it out and then return the error. Just printf debugging for now. Oh, we don't need this. Syntax error, expecting expression, range, candidates. Can't determine ingredients for allergens because they are empty lists. Shouldn't we delete them from candidates? For ingredients, allergens, range allergens. Log.print put potential contains %q IA. It doesn't print anything, so allergens is empty. What? What? What does this do? Soy, dairy, fish. These are empty lists. These are not supposed to be empty lists. Why are they empty lists? Wait, just to verify. Yeah, so this says that the list of candidates is empty for all of them. This obviously makes no sense. We intersect it. So is intersect wrong for all the elements in there? If it's also in S2, add it to out. And out.add. Oops. No, this is correct. What? A candidates. A. Why? Okay, this doesn't seem to do what we want. What does ingredients contain at that point? Did we maybe make a mistake there? Nope. Oh, obviously, because we start with the empty set, and the intersection of the empty set with any set is the empty set. So we first need to see if this set is empty. Equals f dot ingredients and else this func as string set empty return len as equals 0. Assignment to entry in nilmap. Where's this panic? 125 out. But that actually means we now get candidates. Cool. But our list of allergen-free ingredients is obviously too long. So let's see if our candidates are correct. So dairy can be only here. So when do we print this now? We print it at the beginning. Okay, so dairy we say can only be in mixificable. That looks correct. Fish could be in mixificable and in skukische. That also makes sense. And soy could be in skukische. How could it be in skukische? That makes no sense. Oh yeah, it can initially be in that. And then we narrowed it down, and by the end of this, we should see that the correct range, the correct, do we do this? So, wait, does this mean, do we assign allergens? Nope, we never assign allergens. Allergens of the ingredient is this allergen. Now this looks correct. So mix contains dairy, that makes sense. Sure contains fish, that also makes sense. Switcher contains soy, that also makes sense. Great, and these are the the allergen-free ingredients. Okay, so cool, this actually seems to make sense. So instead of doing this, let's say find allergens, and this will, instead of returning a string set, it will return our map from our allergens map, because this will be, I think this is a better division of labor. So allergens are that. Now we want to actually, so one thing that I'm interested in is what does this do? Not enough arguments to return, and allergen free is not returned. Let's first look at the test output again. Yeah, that also still makes sense. What does this do if we run it on our input? Because I want to know whether this fails. No, this still works. So we have all the information we need, hopefully correctly determined. So these are the allergens. Let's remove this because we don't care about that anymore. And for now, let's also don't do this. So now the next step is the stuff that I just removed. Now we want to determine all the safe foods and all the safe ingredients. So we need all the food and all the allergens. And this is what we just did. For all foods, for all ingredients, if it does not contain, the ingredient does not have an allergen, add it to the outset. And then we want to count them. Count safe ingredients. And again, we need all the food. Yeah, hi Michael. Well, you at least you appeared. For what it's worth, so far I'm far more confident than I feel yesterday. Also, the autofocus of my webcam is again doing its thing. Cool. Yeah, Michael, I trust you are able to, or anyone else who's late, I trust you are all able to just look up the problem on Advent of Code and yeah, determine where I'm at. And then we also get all the safe foods, and we return an integer, and we say var an int for all foods, for all ingredients in the food, if the ingredient is safe, or if safe.has, I guess, n++. So this should be the answer we are looking for. So safe is find safe food. Yeah, I agree. Tomorrow. Find safe food. Foods and allergens. and then we will just number of uses of safe ingredients, count safe ingredients, foods safe. That's what I call it. Right, let's see what this does. Used as value for f dot find safe food. Number of uses of safe ingredients, 5. So this seems to do the right thing. Let's run it against our input and see what happens. 2380. Ta-da! Yes, this is much simpler than yesterday. Even though I still struggled at the beginning. Wait, do I? Oh, X is fun. I can move my mouse cursor outside the screen. Now that you've isolated the inert ingredients, you should have enough information to figure out which ingredients contains which allergen. Well, yes, you're correct. I do. Arrange the ingredients alphabetically by their allergen and separate them by commas to produce your canonical dangerous ingredient list. There should not be any spaces. Time to stock. What is your time to stock your... so this is actually not a number. This is... Okay, so... yeah, let's just do that. We actually literally have this map right here. Arrange the ingredients alphabetically by their allergen. Okay. Sort.slice. We can't just sort a slice. We need to actually take all the ingredients. Ingredients is a string set, and when we say it has length 0. So we first now just collect all the ingredients that contain allergens, and then we will sort it by the sort function that they give us, and then we will print out the list, hopefully. For range allergens, so we range over the keys. Why is this 4 highlighted? This is confusing. I mentioned before, GoVim sometimes does things and I don't know really why and what's the reason. But anyway, for the order, ingredients equals append ingredients I. In my opinion, all these variable names are far too long and hard to type. I would really prefer shorter ones, but whatever. Now we have the list of all ingredients that contain allergens. Now we will sort it. Sort.slice ingredients by the function return allergens of ingredients I is less than allergens of ingredients J, and we will print a comma-separated list of these ingredients. Mixifitted yeah, that looks correct. And if we've done everything right, we are done. The second star. So this obviously was a lot simpler than yesterday. Which is good. This means I actually can look at like how to write good code for once, because we actually have more than enough time. I think it really helped that I couldn't find out a better way to approach the first part of the problem than actually getting the information they were asking from me in the second part. That actually made the second part a lot simpler, it turns out. Okay, so let's first submit this, commit this. And then let's think about how we would, what we would do if we were to do this for work, like as a job, and actually cared about the quality of our code. Obviously, we would write a lot of comments, but I feel like there's not a lot of, like most of the Godot comments are pretty self-explanatory. So let's let's start writing tests. Package main. So one thing we might want to test is our set implementation. Obviously, it would be nice if we would just have like canonical set, and maybe in a year or so we will, but we don't. So let's check that our set does what it's supposed to do. Let's call this string set test.go just to be absolutely clear about what we are testing. So I think the most obvious. So I think one thing to also learn, or like one skill that is sometimes undervalued, is also to know what not to test. And I feel like testing these things doesn't, like, there's not really a lot of value in that. They just do what they are supposed to do. Intersect is, I think, something that is worth testing. And again, for some reason, it thinks it needs to highlight func for me. I don't understand why. It's like, it's not that I searched for the word. I don't know. What are interesting things to test about the intersection function? Honestly, I feel a bit ridiculous about like testing anything because this code seems pretty obvious for the most part, but it's fine. Testing the parser might be interesting. Each test case will have two string sets as input and a string set as an output that we want. That I meant to ask on your stream the other day, and I'm reminded today, do you have a custom keyboard? Sounds good on the mic, which makes me think it is. It's not super custom, it's a Kinesis Advantage. The reason to have that is I'm imitating Michael, who's also on the stream right now. Yeah, it's an ergonomic mechanical keyboard, and I use the stock, pretty much a stock version of that with cherry brown keys. I find it insanely comfortable, and I actually found that recently, like if I type too long on a non-ergonomic keyboard, I get RSI. Yeah, I do have customized it somewhat, but you can't hear that because I use also Michael's custom keyboard controller, which is called Kinex, I think. Yeah, this thing. But yeah, so yes, I use a fancy keyboard. I have been for a while. Honestly, this seems super dull to write. Nah, let's not do this. This just seems dull. I think one thing I would like to again, like I think testing the parser is always a nice thing to do. Package main func test read input. So, and also like let me know if you want to, like, again, right now we have a lot of time, so let me know just in the chat if there's something you think like you're interested to see how you would do it in Go, or to just see how I would approach like variations of this problem or whatever. So in will be a string and want will be a slice of food, and we might want an error. So this is basically my default. How do I like write tests for functions that can fail? It's just I just say a bool for if I want an error or not. I usually don't test for what error should be returned unless I care about deeply, like unless the returned error is really part of the API. For example, with RPC handlers or something, I would actually add it like in the test, also test what error code is returned. So let's first say if the input is empty, we want an empty list of foods, and we don't want an error. Let's say that's actually how we want this, and we will just write our table-driven test. So yeah, if you're new to Go, if you've never seen this, this idiom is called table-driven test. We just define a table of test cases, and then we go through them and do the same thing to all of them. And check if they fail. And this makes it really, really easy to add new test cases. Though it sometimes, like, it seems a bit, it will seem weird to people coming from other languages, but yeah. Read input. So got air, read input strings dot new reader r, and then so if r equals unequal null, so this is whether we got an error. If that is not equal to, or let's just say if tc dot want error, if r equals null, error f read input %q returned equals nothing null want error tc.in. Else continue, because if we got an error, it doesn't make sense to test anything else. Feature was about 50% implementing set and 50% the rest. Will Golang get first? Yes. So yes and no. What will happen is Go will most likely, with like I would say 99.999% probability, get generics, probably in around a year or so. And once you have generics, implementing set as a library will be trivial, right? Like, so, and I would actually, like, I would expect at that point a standard library implementation of a generic set to emerge. Right now, like, if you would want a built-in set in Go, you would either have would need to use like empty interface, like, because like this is basically the problem. The problem is you want to want it to work with any element type, or approximately any element type. And so like right now you don't have generics. Right now you would either have to do it as a built-in like map, and so far it's kind of, whenever it was discussed, it was pretty much the consensus that it's not really worth adding that, because writing your own set type with like bool or empty struct or whatever is trivial enough, or you can, like, there are code generators out there that can generate it. I just don't tend to do that. Like for stuff like this, where I feel the code is sufficiently obvious. Like as I said, like I feel like the code is obvious enough that I don't even feel the need to test it really. So yeah, right now the answer is either use code generators, and there are code generators and there are libraries out there that will let you use code generation to generate typed string types, or you would have to use empty interface, and or you would have to have a built-in. And currently the stance on built-ins is, as a built-in it doesn't add enough value, yeah, and using, like, making a library. I'm sure there are also libraries out there that make set types based on empty interface, and I probably could have found one and used that. But like the downside of that is, of course, you don't have type safety, and then also like some values cannot be used in Go maps, like slices and funcs. So yeah, I just find it easier to just write it very quickly with the operations I need, which is usually pretty straightforward. But yeah, I in a year or so there will be a standard library. Like once we have generics, there will pretty much certainly be a standard library set type of some sort. Yeah. So if we want an error, we are done. Otherwise, we want to check. This will be a slice of food, and they should actually be in the right. Let's just do a reflect.equal and see what happens. If not reflect dot deep equal got and tc.want. This is actually a good use case. I think this is a good use case. Let's just do that. Because do I already? Yes. So the issue is, so wait, let's just write it like this. If what we got is not what we want, we would output an error message, read input %q equals percent v want percent v. And now the issue here is that if we have like long lists and long sets, it will be very difficult to see the difference between the two, especially as they are not ordered. The canonical way kind of around that is something called GoCump, which is a library for written for testing. And it, like, this has basically, it's useful for testing because it gives you a lot of like different equality operators, and it lets you diff values and stuff like that. And so we will use this and see what happens. If diff equals cump.diff got tc.want diff unequal the empty string, we will say returned wrong output, and then we will just print the diff, I guess. And this should be tcn and the diff. And yeah, let's see what happens if we test this. We have a syntax error, obviously, and it passes. And if we now do a like foo or whatever, return the wrong output. Well, it doesn't return an error. So this is already something that we should address, I think. Wait, should we? No, technically speaking, we said if there are no allergens listed, that's fine. So technically this is correct. Yeah, so we can see the diff output. Let's actually add that as a test case to our list. Right, so this now tells us if we input the string foo, we get the wrong output, because what we get is a slice of food where this food has as ingredients foo and this allergens empty list, but yeah, we don't have this in our got in our got, and we do have this instead. We have nil instead. I think honestly this seems like a bad representation, but it's fine. So this actually tells us that we don't have the correct output, which is exactly right. So we want a food, and now we should actually have a simple way to make string sets, because writing them down is annoying. So let's write let's add this here. Func make string set with elements for elements out dot add e return out. I will actually do, for your benefit, ft after ft plugin go do this and reload Vim. Wait, why did this? Is this not how you comment out stuff in Vimrc? No, of course it's not, because Vim is super special and needs its own thing. Yeah. Now we always get syntax highlighting. And so now we can write. This should be make string set foo. And if we now go test, we panic. Great. Why do we panic? Cannot handle unexpected. Yeah, okay. So the issue is that the fields in food are unexported. So we need to export them. I used to have a macro for go rename. I don't have that anymore since I used go vim. Anyone know how to do rename and go vim? Go vim rename, vielleicht? Maybe? Why does it open new things? I mean, it did what I wanted, but why does it open a new window? Yeah, it actually does the thing. So no, it doesn't. Okay, so this should not be. This should not count as a difference, right? So now the issue is it returns something with an empty set, and it expects null. We would prefer it to treat those two as equal. So we will look at compare diff, which has some. So we can use an comparer, but there might also be an option to treat the two as the same. Let's just check. Equate approximate, equate empty. That determines all maps and sizes with a length of 0 to be equal. Yeah, so this is what we want. So we will add to the diff equate empty. And now that has passed. So that's cool. So what can we test? So let's also test that if we have more than one ingredient, that this does what it should be. Let's test that if we have an allergen. Oops. It will do that. And at this point, it's beneficial to actually split things up. Where do I want to break? I think I want to break here. Yeah. Yep. Why does it not? Does it format? Yeah, it does. Cool. So this also works. Let's test if we have more than one allergen. That works. Let's test if it contains more than one allergen and more than one ingredient. It works. Oops. Cool. And now, like, let's check some malformed input. I guess. Well, we should also check that it can pass multiple foods, but I will be somewhat lazy in that and just use this. And again, it's beneficial to split this into multiple lines at this point. Cool. So, what are things that we might want to check? Well, actually, let's look at the code and see if there's something where we are currently lazy that we would want to be that we want to improve. Yeah, for example, I think one thing that is where our parser currently is a bit broken is if we do this and leave out this. It returns yeah, so this actually fails, and this is supposed to fail, but it's supposed to actually fail with a different error message. So we actually want this to fail because we are missing the trailing parentheses. So this now, like, the test does fail, and it fails. What it tells us: well, we wanted an error, but we didn't get one, and it returns the wrong input, the wrong output, because it returns not. Actually, it shouldn't return any output, for the record. Yeah. Yeah, and it tells us, it gives us a food, but we didn't want the food because there should be an error. And the issue here is, of course, that we just slice off the last element here without actually checking that it is a closed parenthesis. So let's do this. Let's say if ln L minus 1 is not a closed parenthesis, then we will return unmatched parentheses. And now we can do L equals L I to ln L minus 1. Or let's just do the trim prefix here. And then let's delete all of that, which is also like maybe a little bit more readable. Great, now the test pass. So yeah, obviously we can go further with this, but I don't know. I think for this, for now, this is like a decent demonstration. What we would probably actually want to do in practice is fuzz this, like use GoFuzz. But this is like, I think this is too much of a hassle to set up right now. And like, especially as I'm not super familiar with how to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know what else to do right now. Like, I guess except like I don't even want to suggest going back to yesterday's problem. Because I have nightmares from that. Yeah, I don't know. I did, just because it was relatively obvious, like I did split the thing up into relatively testable pieces. from the beginning. So I did split it up into very much like small logical units. And yeah, we could like test them individually. We could try to solve this problem. Though honestly, like I don't even know how. No, I think like honestly, I think I will just leave it at this because today apparently like today was just this relatively simple problem, and we just got through with it, and I don't really see the point in faffing around. So let's just leave it at that, unless I will now wait like 30 seconds for you to write in the chat whether you want to see something specific. Otherwise, we will just leave it. Da, da, da. Yeah, I think I will just leave it. So thanks for joining me again, and I hope you do so again tomorrow. I'm happy with like this was a good stream. This is how it's supposed to work. Is the problem is manageable. I just do it and we're done. So yeah, thanks for joining. See you tomorrow.